If you are a local business owner struggling for foot traffic, it's not just you. Foot traffic is at an all-time low for local businesses, and I'm going to show you how to fix it. I'm giving you my daily foot traffic multiplier method in a 6-part series. This is something I and my clients, who are all local business owners, retail stores, restaurants, coffee shops, salons, anyone who relies on actual in-person sales of some sort, we have used this to multiply our foot traffic by 2, 3, sometimes as much as 10 or 11 times. Because a local business owner, you don't just need a couple more people trickling through your doors when things get tough, right? We have to multiply it and make sure that it works, and you drive more sales consistently without giving you 18,000 other things to do. So sit back, dive in. This is a 6-part series, and I'm going to show you exactly how to multiply foot traffic for your business. Let's go.
I'll come tomorrow.
Session 1, the different types of marketing strategies and how to actually choose one that is built for a local brick and mortar business. They're not all created equal. What works for an online business isn't going to bring foot traffic in your door. All right, this is the daily foot traffic multiplier method, part 1, and I'm going to show you how to actually create a strategy that works for local versus something that is either not really a strategy at all or is not built for your type of business. So let's get into it. Okay, first and foremost, I want to talk through different types of strategies that I see business owners using the first time that I talk to them. This one might look and sound a little funny, but it's actually one of the most common things I hear from local business owners. 9 out of 10 people who come to me and talk to me about, getting help for their business, when we actually dive into it and we understand what they're doing, they're throwing spaghetti at the wall. Okay. It looks like anything that happens in a local business. Like you know that you should be marketing. So you maybe have gotten some advice from a friend or a family member. You've taken a course about how to stand out on Instagram. You're posting in Facebook groups. You heard from someone who claims that a print ad in their magazine or on a local billboard is going to get eyes on your business, or you've paid for radio ads. You're throwing stuff at the wall, spaghetti, and hoping it sticks. And this is probably the least effective way to market a local business that I can think of. Okay. And a lot of you know that, right? Like if you're sitting here going, yeah, I'm aware that I'm one of those spaghetti throwers. It's totally fine. It's better to do something than nothing, right? But it's not really going to have any consistent effect in terms of helping you grow your business and bring foot traffic in the door. So spaghetti at the wall, most common thing I hear. And what it does is, your business right here, right? You're on Main Street, USA, wherever your business might be. Or, you think that you have a really, really fantastic location and it should result in people coming consistently, but they're actually not seeing your business. And the reason for this is it's both situational and psychological. Okay. Consumers, they are taught in today's day and age that their main source of information is this device that sits in their hands. Okay. They're sitting there and they're scrolling on their phones constantly. Sitting there and scrolling on their phones constantly. That is where they get 100% of their information nearly. That might be a little bit over dramatic, but like people are on their phones. That's their first point of contact with anything, whatever they're doing. They're asking Google where to go. They're asking, Facebook, what is the, best burger joint in my city, right? Like everything is on their phone. So we have to understand that consumer psychology and kind of like where they're looking for information. And then, so that's the situational aspect, right? Like we have to kind of be in front of them where they're looking. It's not necessarily enough to just exist in your local city, state, county anymore. They have to be able to find you where they're looking for information. So that's our situation. We've got to be online on all these apps. And then psychologically, because There's so much content, and now we're competing with absolutely everything, right? There's AI just like flinging like an insane amount of content at every single app. Ads have changed. Like, people are trained basically to have the attention span of a goldfish. So if like you're not catching their attention right away with something that really makes them interested, they still don't know you're there. Okay, so when we think about spaghetti strategy, just throwing stuff out and hoping that that is going to be enough to get people off their couch and into your business, it might have worked a little bit here and there, especially for a brand new business, right? Like if you just kind of posted, or you got an article written about you, or like anything at all happened where like there was some sort of content about your business out there 2, 3, 5 years ago, like that actually could work a little bit, even though it was still spaghetti, right? Now, unless we're very, very strategic, making sure that they know exactly who you are, where you are, and what you offer them, these customers, like, nothing is sticking to them. Okay, spaghetti strategy is not something that will work from today's day and age moving forward. The world has changed. We now live in an age of digital content and AI. Spaghetti is not going to stick to the wall. We have to be very, very strategic about making sure that real customers see us and care about us where they're spending their time, which is on their phones. So, spaghetti strategy, it's not enough to just shout into the void or throw spaghetti at the wall. We've got to do something that goes deeper and is more intentional than just hoping that whatever kind of new shiny object we are going to pick up is going to work. Okay. Second most common thing that I hear from local business owners, and they call this a marketing strategy, and it is a part of a marketing strategy, but this is content strategy. So saying things like, I'm looking at what's going on in terms of, what have you. Like, it really depends on the business, but it could be like calendar holidays, it could be weather or seasonal. It could be saying, I have a certain series that I do on Instagram every Thursday. A content strategy is better than spaghetti, but what it essentially does is, rather than just being completely invisible, it kind of adds to the noise on all of these apps. And so a good content strategy that is built on the foundations of a real marketing strategy can be fantastic at helping you be efficient and prioritize your time and make sure that everything that you're putting into marketing actually works. But what happens is, if you are just kind of putting content out there without those foundations in place, you're going above the heads of many of your customers. Okay, so content strategy is kind of the cherry on top of really understanding how to make sure that we know how to get people into your business. But by itself, it's not that much better than having spaghetti, right? Like, you might be reaching some people. This is actually where I see business owners, like if they've got good engagement, they're getting a lot of likes and comments and views, but it's not translating into actual sales. It's because they're focusing on content versus an actual strategy that brings people in off their couch. Okay. So really, really big and important distinction here. A content strategy will help you be very, very good at marketing. It does not replace those foundations that help us actually grow your sales, multiply your foot traffic daily. Okay. Content strategy is the last piece of the puzzle, not the first one. So important to know that this is something that I see so many people online tell you, this is how you should post reels. This is how you should post static posts. This is what you should do on stories. This is what you should do on email. Great. I love your tips for getting more engagement out of my content. But if my content isn't driving sales in the first place, all you're doing is just getting a little bit more, likes, clicks, and views on whatever app or channel that you're using. Likes, clicks, and views don't drive sales. So keep this in your pocket if you love content strategy, but know that if this is the only part of your marketing strategy, if you're thinking about like how and where do I post, how often, Is it a reel versus a story? Is it an email versus a text? That is the thing that we need to think about once we have got something that actually works to bring customers in. It's not going to bring customers in on its own. Not even if you get really excellent at, Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or any of these other channels, right? We have to have a true foundation in place in order to even know what our content strategy should be. Because this is something you'll hear me say over and over and over and over again. Likes, clicks, and views are not sales. They will not drive sales. They're not going to do anything for your business. The only business that does anything for is someone whose business is likes, clicks, and views. If you're selling an actual physical product, service, good, anything that requires a person to come in and buy or to interact with you directly, we need something that goes deeper than a content strategy. All right, next. This is probably kind of going down the hierarchy of things that I hear people using. Brand strategy is important, but branding and marketing, while they are related, are not synonymous. What do I mean by that? Okay, your brand is kind of the visual aspects of your business. So how does your storefront look? How does your website look? What is your logo? What are your brand colors? Are you really fun and quirky, or are you kind of more serious, servicing your customers in a way that makes them feel really taken care of and understood? Those things matter a lot. It is why a customer will, continue to come back year after year after year. If they don't know about you yet, they're not coming just because you have a nice website, okay? So if there's like a line here that we have to get through somehow, having a good website, spending a bunch of money on a new logo or on perfect merchandising inside your store, or having a really beautifully designed menu, those things are amazing in terms of making sure that your customers have a really, really good experience once we get them in, but they're not bringing them in. So a brand strategy is an important part of your foundations, but it is not enough to create business if you already don't have it. So, these other things, the content strategy, if you're using, spaghetti at the wall, like trying to get customers' attention, like in some ways, these are better than having a good brand strategy and not knowing how to get customers' attention, right? Like this is really, really an important part of a successful business. It's not how you multiply customers daily. It's how you build those foundations of having something that customers talk about and tell their friends about once they actually have come in. So is it important? Yes. Is it actually going to, compound your marketing strategy, multiply your daily foot traffic? It won't, not by itself. So this is not enough. This is not a true marketing strategy. This is not bringing customers in. It's just going to make you really, really attractive to them once we get them in the door. So don't sleep on it. I'm not saying, hey, we don't need any of these things. And if you're, you've put a lot of thought into your merchandising or your website or your menu or your logo, like I love that. But now we've got to get people in the door, and this alone isn't going to do it. What about if you're doing some sort of advertising or what I call a tactical strategy? Well, you're light years ahead of many business owners if you are doing this, but how and where you do it is very, very important, because now we have ad spend and money behind this. So, your business is here. Most advertising strategies are online. We're going to get to this in a minute. If you're advertising in offline channels, things like print advertising, billboard, radio, we got some other talking to do because those things very rarely have any return on investment. But the thing to know about an advertising strategy is we have to target the customers that are going to be real customers. It's not enough to just kind of, again, back to my spaghetti on the wall. We don't just want to throw spaghetti out there and hope that if everybody in the, metro area knows about you, that's enough to get people to come in. And we have to be able to target people based on their specific customer, personas and beliefs, their buying behaviors, what makes them a potential customer for you in general. And you're spending your money here. everybody that clicks on that ad, or the impressions that you get on whatever website or whatever billboard, like they're charging you based on how many people they say are seeing you. A certain percentage of those are even going to be remotely interested. So now we're moving them down. These are people who have buying behaviors, who are like moving into what a traditional marketer would call a funnel. Okay, most people have heard that term, marketing funnels. So you're spending money to have your business put in front of a certain number of people. A percentage of those will move a little bit further down, and maybe if you're doing a really good job, another very small percentage. Like if you get, I'd say at like average, like 6 to 10% of the total people that see some of your advertising to turn into customers, that's a pretty good return on ad spend. Why does this matter? Well, for starters, we have money behind this, right? So we have to run ads from a standpoint of getting that 6 to 10%. If you're just kind of using spaghetti, again, we're not connecting with real customers. Nobody's getting into the funnel. Nobody's even having a buying behavior if you're just kind of like spraying and praying. This is why things like billboards don't really work, because it's just out there for anybody to see. And what are consumers doing in terms of how they're interacting with their world? They're on their phones. Billboards are invisible in today's day and age. They really are. The only time I've ever really seen a billboard example that works in today's digital environment is when, for example, you have a billboard advertising a truck stop that's coming up in 2 miles, right? Someone needs gas or they need the restroom. Well, yeah, they're pulling off. Is that going to get someone in the door of a local restaurant or local boutique? Really, really, really unlikely. And I have so many data points on this. Like I could literally go on all day about how many ways are more effective than a billboard to actually get foot traffic and local customers. But the thing that we need to know is ads are a key and extremely important part of a successful marketing strategy, of being able to multiply your foot traffic for your business daily. But without all of the foundations in place and knowing how to get them back in and create repeat customers and have that content strategy and have that branding strategy, these by themselves are rarely ever going to be effective. They're an important piece of your overall marketing strategy. We're going to get into exactly how those work in another session in this series, but I want you to understand from what I'm telling you here, this alone is not enough, right? Like if you are just paying for a print ad or a billboard and you haven't had your branding and that store experience or that, customer experience inside your business, if that's not really well defined and something that is like unique to you, right? They're not really seeing it or doing anything with it. If you're using a content strategy and you don't have your branding strategy in place and you don't have your advertising in place, you're going over their heads and you're getting likes, clicks, and views and no sales. So what do we need to do to actually get customers in today's day and age? I call this a compound marketing strategy. This is what my daily foot traffic multiplier method is built on. And it utilizes all of these things. Well, except for spaghetti. We don't throw spaghetti. That is what people who, haven't ever had any, help or training in marketing do. So we're going to utilize a content strategy, our advertising strategy, our branding strategy, and some very, very specific methods of getting in front of customers to do what I call a compound method that multiplies your foot traffic daily. Because it's not just enough to have someone click on a post and like something that you posted. It's not just enough to get, a good click-through rate on an ad. It's not just enough to have a really beautiful branding strategy, logo, or in-person experience. We have to utilize a compound method. I call this in building an invisible fence around your ideal customer. So, we are utilizing very specific strategies for making sure that, you're seeing where the customers are spending their time, on their little digital devices, and that you are showing up in a way that they're interacting with. The message is very, very important. Again, we're going to get to exactly what to do for the message in another session in this masterclass. But I want you to think about this. We are building something that keeps those customers really engaged with the business. They're seeing us everywhere. We look really, really, really good. We have the advertising strategy that is bringing them in. And I also show you how to automate all of that, right? So keep watching through till the end of this series, because I know probably better than most how frustrating and how impossible it is to be a local business owner trying to wear every single hat, right? Like it's intensely difficult. And I know that marketing often kind of falls off the to-do list, or it gets put on the back burner. But without it, especially in today's day and age, right? Like consumers are just not engaging with local the same way that they were even 5 years ago. So we have to make sure that you're showing up where they're spending their time, that you're very, very strategic, making sure that they're engaging with you, that your ads work, and that everything else that you do keeps them inside that invisible fence. This is a compound strategy. So you think about the word compound. What does it do? It builds on itself. So once someone learns about you the first time, maybe through something like a very, targeted ad on a social media site, and they're actually interested and they click on it, we can keep them seeing content from you. That's where that content strategy comes in, and it's automated, right? And then, eventually they're going to either get off their couch, they're going to come in, they're going to come see you. Now they're on your email list, or, having your website be an email capture. So like it's another way that we're staying in front of them. Again, I'm going to get to the specifics of this later in this course, but I want you to really think deeply about what the word strategy means to you. And if you're like, again, 9 out of 10 people that I speak to, you're probably utilizing a piece of a strategy. And it might be getting some engagement. You might be getting some likes, clicks, and views, or you might be getting nothing if you're just kind of throwing stuff at the wall and hoping that it sticks. But I want you to really think intentionally, deeply about what you have been doing from a strategic point of view. And if that is the reason why you, like 9 out of 10 people I talk to, have been struggling for. So make sure that you like and follow, and then click through to my next video in this series, because I'm going to show you which channels are actually the ones to spend your money on, and how we start putting this together and getting real people to come in and support your local business because they really, really want to be there.